Something you may not know about me is that I'm incredibly interested in virtual reality and AR technologies, and if you haven't heard, Apple just entered the industry and are changing it in a huge way. Just recently, Apple announced an insane new product. For those of you who are just hearing it now, first of all, where have you been the last 24 hours? And second of all, the Apple Reality One is an AR/VR headset that brings so much that couldn't be done by either alone. Essentially, it's a phone right in front of your face. The main use case allows you to use essential phone apps right in front of your face as their own giant monitors, which sounds really cool, besides the fact that other headsets have done the same. But that's not all. It also plays movies. In all seriousness though, this headset is actually a monster when compared to other headsets. If we take everything shown at WWDC as fact, the way Apple Reality interacts with the environment is insane on so many levels, with the way it artificially changes the lighting of the room, or allowing you to slide in other environments and even add shadows to the ground from your windows. It's crazy how much it can do. But many of you are probably thinking how this has been done by Meta with the Quest Pro and dozens of other headsets too. So why does it matter here? Well, one thing especially unique to this headset is a proprietary Apple integration and the push for usage by companies. Starting off with the Apple integration, this brings the headset from a fun toy to a necessary accessory for any PowerPC diehard Apple user. You see, Apple has purposely and finally built an inescapable ecosystem where each product makes the others better. Think of it this way. When you wake up, you'll pull up your iPhone to check your Twitter feed and use the Apple HomePod to turn on the lights. Then you'll go for a morning jog using your Apple Watch to track your exercise time and calories, which will be sent to your Apple Health app in your iPhone. After your jog, you'll go back to your iPhone and read your emails. After some time, you might switch to your MacBook and use Handoff to pick up where you left off on your phone. Then you'll take a second to relax and turn on a movie with your Apple TV using your iPhone as a remote, while listening with your Apple AirPods. This cycle could continue forever. If you lose your keys, you could use your Apple AirTag to find them using your Find My app on your iPhone. And now, Apple's just introducing their next item in their ecosystem to keep you locked in Apple. With the Apple Reality, you can now, rather than building an entire theater room with expensive speakers and projectors and seats, virtual chairs not included, you can instead buy one expensive headset that could take what you're doing on your iPhone and bring it into an infinitely large theater in front of you. Not to mention how you can send iMessages and scroll the web in a huge scale. Now, 99% of you are probably thinking how this doesn't really affect you, since you aren't in the Apple ecosystem and certainly never plan to be. And I'm here to tell you that this does affect you, and its effects are huge. While this headset really seems to be just more of what we've seen before, just polished and stamped with an Apple logo, it's going to make huge ripples in the industry. You see, at first, the only people who would realistically adopt this are the techie Apple fanboys and companies who are already deep in the Apple ecosystem. But those companies are exactly the ones who will make it mainstream. People in the VR sphere have always been waiting for something to push it into the mainstream. Many thought the Quest 2 could do that, but in reality, it only tickled it into the mainstream. But now, with the Apple Reality, VR finally has a chance. First, it's going to be incorporated by the office or creative jobs that they were marketing it to, such as film and art houses. Next, the employees of those places will start to use them in their everyday lives, just as they would their iPhones. And eventually, it'll be in every high-income home in America. And you could ask, why didn't the Quest Pro do that? Well, it's simply because they don't have the ecosystem or influence that Apple does. Once the Apple Reality Pro is mainstream, all of VR and XR will be. The main thing keeping tech companies from making VR stuff was the fact that there's no market. But if Apple succeeds, then everyone will join the fight, meaning more options for the consumer, which is only ever a good thing. Now, despite all the affection I just gave, there are some glaring flaws that need to be discussed, and I'll get to that, but first, if you're liking the content, consider subscribing, since without all the help of you wonderful people, there's no chance a waiter like me could ever dream of buying something like this. So thanks to all of you who stuck around this far, and let's see those big problemos with this headset. First off, as you might have felt by now, is the fact that this seems to have very limited use case, and that's certainly true from a few perspectives. Like I said, it's basically an infinitely large iPhone, or rather iPad, since you can also use it as a monitor for your computer, which all sounds great, but until we know what apps are being developed for it, it seems sort of pointless, and that's the next thing. As an enjoyer of VR gaming, the fact that they didn't show off any true VR games was disappointing. While yes, I could play a cheap basketball iPhone game, I would much rather play something like Beat Saber or Boneworks in a headset that powerful. And the fact that they didn't show off any controller accessories certainly makes it feel unlikely any true VR gaming will happen. I'm still hopeful for one reason: Unity integration. Apple explained that they're partnering with Unity to have natural integration with the engine and the headset. This is incredible because this means games like VRChat and Beat Saber should be easily ported to the Apple Reality. VRChat would perfectly integrate with the Apple Reality, as you could easily control the game with hand tracking. However, most games don't really work with hand tracking and need controllers. So I assume the most likely thing that'll happen is for Apple to make their own $500 pair of controllers that can pair to the Reality, and then maybe you can pair other controllers such as the Quest 2s or any third-party controller as you would with a mouse. Either way, I believe VR gaming will be possible with this headset. Whether you can only use it in virtual desktop or if popular VR games will be ported to it, that's still up to question, but we'll surely be able to play a little more than iPhone Plants vs. Zombies. At least until the battery dies. Because that battery life is awful. Not just the battery life, but the whole battery system. The battery is external, likely because of the weight concerns, and you have to carry the battery separate from the headset, and the battery itself only lasts 2 hours. Keep in mind, while they were presenting this, they spent a lot of time showing off movies that most of the time are longer than 2 hours. Apple's solution to this is to have you plugged into a wall, which, while it does work, certainly isn't ideal, and because of the MagSafe charging, you aren't going to be yanked back if you forget it's plugged in, but it's still not ideal, especially if you have any gaming in mind. And now, at last, we have the biggest issue which everyone's been waiting for, and that's the big, humongous, gigantimous, exorbitant price tag. For $3,500, you're buying something heavy with no VR games just to watch a movie for it to die in the last 20 minutes, and with all of that, it's made by Apple. So you might be asking, why do I still think it will make VR mainstream? Well, it's because it's made by Apple. The Apple Reality Pro is clearly more of a prototype than a public launch model. This model isn't going to be used by everyone, and it shouldn't. This model will be the testing grounds to get it in the hands of the people who will use the product most, and then, over the years, it'll be refined and made essential for everyone. Eventually, the biggest quirks will be worked out, and like many have said, in a few years we'll probably have the Apple Reality SE and its numerous competitors, and we'll have the Apple Reality Pro to thank. Right now, it's not for everyone, but soon, it will be. And that's a video from me. And again, if you enjoyed it, check out my other stuff. I mainly make content on the gaming industry with a focus especially on Nintendo, and who's to say, maybe with their next console, Nintendo might be entering the VR sphere too. So when that happens, I hope you'll be here to see it unfold, and until then, keep cool. Bye!